Reddit. What are some deep dark secrets your family members tried to hide from you, but you found out anyway? We all knew my father used to be a triad gangster. Every time we had family events when I was young, there would be a lot of uncles about, and normal people who lived near us would always avoid us, never look us in the eye, and be extra courteous. Heck, when I was young, I didn't have a lot of friends because all the kids' parents feared my dad. I never knew why they were scared of him until I overheard him on the phone one day in 1992. My father has always been very quiet about what he does, his role in the organization that he worked for, and I could understand why. From what I gathered after listening to the conversation on the phone, he was some sort of enforcer. Someone had snitched on the location of their drug warehouses or factories in China, and they knew who snitched. They had him. And my father just said, make it very slow and find his family. You know what to do. After listening in on that conversation, I couldn't even look my dad in the eye for a few weeks. But he's no longer part of the organization and he's retired. Still, sometimes he's scary. TLDR. Father was a high-ranking gangster in Hong Kong who did shady stuff. I smell an AMA. Wouldn't really say this is anything dark. However, growing up I thought my family was awesome and we all loved each other. Crap was fantastic. However, I start to get into my teen years and this doesn't seem the case anymore. My dad's parents don't seem as close and I began to feel like they looked down upon me and maybe my mum. Well, not long into my teens I find out my dad's parents hate my mum. My nan wrote a letter to my dad before their wedding telling him not to marry her. So now I understand that actually, these big happy family events I thought were happening were all fake. Now whenever my dad's parents are over I can't help but thinking this is all fake crap. You all hate each other, why are we bothering to pretend? I'm sure my grandparents love me, but I can't stand how false everything has become. Let's see, when I was 12 or so I found a suitcase of gay pee, videos and mags, under my dad's bed. I found out that one of my uncles had killed himself following a certain amount of incest between the other siblings. My sister was violated while at university. Another friend, a musician, disappeared in the genocide. He was rounded up along with some 100 other Tutsi youths when the Tutsis were invading from Uganda, and simply vanished. A cousin, not by blood, was convicted of genocide in Rwanda. My half-sister, my dad was prolific, tried to steal all my father's money, and ended up becoming his favorite child. I've successfully hidden most of my dark secrets from my family. Holy crap, you must have had an interesting life so far. I'm sorry for all of that crap you must have gone through, man. If it makes you feel any better, I hope you feel great, haha. My great-grandmother was outside with her 2-year-old sister. This was in the 30s. She was watching her while her dad was out in the field working and whatnot. So, my grandma's little sister got annoying, so she got a huge stick and beat her nearly to death. She got sent to an insane asylum. My mother claims that my father is some man who disappeared when she got pregnant. She won't give me a name or anything. My entire life, she's only referred to him as your father, and refused to elaborate. Recently though, my aunt made it clear that this isn't true. We were having dinner, each of us had a few cocktails, and my aunt said that the whole story was just ridiculous. She said my mother made herself the victim of the story because she was so ashamed of the truth. I still don't know the truth, but at least I know that my father isn't some mysterious man who blew in and out of town. I can only think that your father is a relative of your mother. I'm one of 4 siblings. My parents had planned on 3 kids, and the 4th was my mom's last-ditch attempt at a girl. She deceived my dad into thinking that she was still using contraception. She confided this to my ex-GF, who was murdered. So I may be the only one who knows the secret, other than my mom. But life has a sense of humor. My youngest sibling turned out to be another boy. They didn't keep this a secret, but when I was younger I had a second cousin who was very intelligent. I remember he would always get on peg left at that game at the Cracker Barrel every time. He also really loved Stephen King novels. As time went on it turned out he was a schizophrenic and he was admitted to a mental hospital. He ended up escaping and killed himself by being hit by a train. My great-grandpa's youngest brother was really his nephew. His sister got pregnant at 15 in the 1930s, and they lived in a super conservative area, so they tried to pass the kid off as her brother. Kinda like the empty child. During my parents' divorce, when I was 3, my dad offered my mom a one-time payment of $15,000 or so for us to walk out of his life and never deal with him again. He was trying to get out of paying child support, and my mother's lawyer told her to record every phone conversation with my father to be used against him. I found out when I was about 12 or so because I was looking for blank cassette tapes to make radio mixtapes and found a huge stash under my mother's bed. The first one I picked up was that conversation and queued up to be played for the judge. TLDR, my dad is sort of a dong. My mom tried to commit suicide when she was 18 by jumping from a 2-story parking garage. She broke dozens of bones and is now littered with steel plates and screws under the skin. As a kid, I assumed that was just normal and eventually I would get some metal bones too, until my grandma asked how my mom's past injuries felt in the winter. She was asking if she had arthritis from the injuries. Specifically, I had to ask my mom about it and I have never viewed her the same since. As a 13-year-old that had just begun taking antidepressants and therapy, it hit the softest of soft spots. I used to think she was basically a pillar, being a single mom and working 2 jobs to scrape by and all that. Now she just seems so fragile. I'm sincerely terrified of her attempting again. I never want to see go like that. She deserves better. I am the only one of my siblings to actually be related to my dad, my mom's husband. I'm the oldest. To clarify, my parents were together for all of our births and divorced when I was 12. My youngest sibling was 8. My father doubted I was his child, not my sisters, and got paternity tests on all of us. I'm the only one who is actually related. Yet another reason why I hate to go home. My mother's monitor would be always turned in a way that I could not see what is on it, but she did not realize everything did reflect clearly in the glass behind her. This way I had to discover that she watched some really weird and messed up pee. This is Reddit. Define messed up. I have a few strange things about my family. Not many are dark, though. My grandmother had 6 children. The last was an accident, a product of her sleeping with a 15-year-old babysitter. After she had my uncle, she put him up for adoption, but went back to get him 2 days later. My aunt got pregnant at 15, and my grandmother brought her into an abortion clinic under the guise of it being a doctor's office. My aunt had to run away for a few weeks until abortion wasn't an option. That leads us to the next story about her daughter she gave birth to. My cousin told her that our uncle, a different one than one previously mentioned, had physically shamed her as a kid. My aunt did nothing about it. This same uncle beat up his former wife because she couldn't get pregnant. Aunt D, I barely remember her, and cheated on her and got another woman pregnant. He has 2 girls, but their mother took them away around the same time the accusations came up about him physically shaming my cousin. Until recently, we didn't know where they were, but he found them. The younger one is ignoring him. The older one, who I remember playing with, is pretty cool, but I think is a slight sociopath. My older half-sister's father was a coke addict and when given the choice, chose the drugs over my mother and my sister. They never met until a few years ago, when she was a junior in high school, about 7 months before he died of Hep C. My mother dated my father before my sister's father, and went back to him after they split. I was makeup frick baby, about a month after I was born. After being with my mother and helping with my sister, he bailed. He says my mother said I wasn't his, but I think he's just shifting blame. My mother was abused as a kid, beaten, kicked out, etc. But that didn't stop her from being an abuser herself. She thought as long as she didn't beat us, it wasn't abuse. She was very mentally abusive, would blow up at anything and everything, and make us feel like everything was our fault. Every failed relationship was because we scared them off, made us feel like existing was ruining her life. She trashed our rooms, ruined friendships. For example, my mother got into a fight with her boyfriend about not wanting to give him a blowjob when my friend and I were in the next room. She never came over after that. When my sister's father died, his caretaker and girlfriend was neglecting him. He weighed 85 pounds when he died, and was around 5'6". My sister doesn't know. TLDR, you think your family is fricked up? Uncle physically shamed my cousin, who was almost aborted. Another uncle is the babysitter's sperm. My mom is an abuser in denial. and my sister's dad wasted away before his death because his girlfriend was a psychopath. My extremely homophobic uncle was a big cross-dresser. He always preaches about how God will punish America for allowing gay marriage, but he was the biggest queen in the county. He thinks no one knows, but we all do. My paternal great-grandparents emigrated from Germany because their whole family became Nazis. Rather high-ranking in the Wehrmacht were some of them, too. I found out when I found an iron cross in my granddad's drawer. When I was 15, I was accused of physical shaming assault. This came after having met a random girl outside a movie theater around my area, trading numbers and then being called by the police several hours later saying that I was a suspect. I was arrested later that night, charged and held in remand for almost exactly a year, including the trial. It turned out to be exactly a year to the day. Funny how those things work out. I dropped out of high school, obviously, had to resign from my part-time job while incarcerated, a weird experience, and to anyone outside of the family who knew me at the time, I basically vanished off the face of the earth. Eventually, at the end of the trial, I was found not guilty. Glaring holes in her story, DNA evidence showing no contact physical or otherwise etc., and a really badly performed investigation by the police, and went on my merry. My parents and family sacrificed a lot trying to get me out, especially money wise. I'm 22 now and even to this day we're still feeling the effects. Parents are still working to pay off debt. After a few years of denial, heavy drinking and more than a few social embarrassments caused by my behavior, I was diagnosed with panic disorder and major recurrent depression. These days, only my family, close family friends, a few of my own friends and my fiancé know. When an article was printed about it some years after it had all happened, a friend of mine who I had known for 2 years happened to see it and couldn't believe it. I had forgotten that she didn't know since I don't really speak about it anymore. My teen years were pretty surreal. Realized now that this isn't quite so much something that was hidden from me, so much as it is me hiding it from other people, but the thread was already getting derailed with stories like this. If that would have happened, she would have been given a prison sentence for false reporting, and I would have sued the crap out of her for damages, and pretty much try to ruin her life like she tried with mine. That my brother's ex claimed someone violated her, became pregnant and gave the baby up for adoption. Yeah, the baby is actually my brother's and to this day they perpetuate the violation lie for some odd reason and pretty much everyone in the family knows it's my brother's child. This happened to a buddy of mine, but she kept the baby. Kind of a one-time deal after they had broken up. She is married now to another dude and he treats the kid like his own. Good dude. When I was 16 and sitting in some computer class in high school, I decided it would be fun to hop on the diddler list and search my last name to see if I could find something humorous. After about 15 minutes I found my favorite uncle had been convicted of chili pea charges in Texas. It was my mom's brother and I had no idea how to tell her, so I told my dad and we agreed to keep it a secret. A few days later an anonymous letter came to our house addressed to my mom detailing what I had found online. 5 years later my uncle is in jail for kiddie pee and selling M. Saddest part is how this has destroyed my mom emotionally. This was the uncle that I wanted to be when I grew up. Bought fast cars, always had a pretty girl, and now I can't even hear his name without thinking of what a piece of crap he is. TLDR. Found out my uncle was a pedophile by accident. My aunts Phyllis and Sandy, the ones that live together? Yeah, not sisters. Sandy wasn't my aunt. In hindsight, I'm amazed at how accepting my uber Catholic family, grandmother and a different aunt were Catholic school teachers, was of their relationship. They were invited to all family reunions and Christmas and we would visit them when we were in their town. My brother fricked my brother. My adoptive brother was seen climbing butt naked out of bed with my biological half-brother. What? During an argument with my dad, he told me that I am living, breathing proof that condoms aren't 100% effective. Mum confirmed this later. Not me, but a friend. His whole life he grew up thinking he was adopted. When he was 16, he went to go for his learner's permit, but his parents wouldn't give him his birth certificate. They made up a story about how the adoption agency lost it, and they needed to physically go to that state, which is on the other side of the country, to get a new copy. He knew something was fishy, but didn't really find out what was going on until much later. He was 21, and him and I had grown apart at this point. I only found this out recently from him, after reconnecting. His mother died from cancer, and that's when it was all revealed. He was never actually adopted, neither was his younger sister. One of his older sisters got pregnant twice when she was really young, 12 and 14, and rather than aborting or putting them up for adoption, her parents decided to raise the kids as her own. So my friend grew up his entire life thinking he was adopted, and that his mother and father was his adopted mother and father, and his siblings were his adopted siblings, when in reality, his adopted parents were really his biological grandparents, and his adopted sister was really his mother, and his adopted siblings were really his cousins, aunts and uncles. It sounds really redneck, but this family is anything but redneck. Let's see. Uncle threatened to kill my grandma with a knife one time. Well, he was a complete lunatic and was incarcerated shortly afterwards, so not sure that counts. Other uncle aimed a shotgun at my aunt. Didn't shoot though. Yay. Dad was having an affair. Found out by reading his email. Was suspecting something before that. Gave him the choice to either end it with my mom or the other woman. And he's still with my mom now. I think they're actually happy now. Great-grandfather helped the Nazis in WW2. Other great-grandfather helped the resistance in WW2. Oh, and my personal favorite. Uncle of my grandfather had a Hitler mustache and went to jail for illegally making liquor at his house and selling it. My mum told me when I was 20 that I died 2 weeks after my birth for at least 10 minutes : had some really bad fricked up crap wrong with me and she won't go into any detail about it. Well, I'm fairly certain my little brother is actually my stepdad's, as my mom was cheating on my real dad with him before the divorce, and the timeline adds up. Plus he looks more like him too. We just don't talk about it. My aunt had a baby in college and didn't tell my grandparents. My dad, her brother, and my mom, girlfriend at the time, got a call in the middle of the night with my aunt telling my dad she was going to have a baby. Dad and mom had no idea she was pregnant, nor did any of their friends. She had the baby. My dad and mom got to hold him, and she gave him to his adoptive parents. My mom told me about it after I was out of college. My dad and my aunt don't know that I know about it. The part of the story everyone can agree on is that my brother and I are 6 years apart and my mother has horrible luck with birth control. So it's the mid-80s and my brother is 5 going on 6. They didn't have a lot of money, but just enough to decide whether they wanted another child or a new vehicle. My mother opted for a child as they were having some marital issues, mainly infidelity and drinking on my dad's part, and my dad opted for a new car. After a few heated arguments my dad won out and they signed off on a new car. Less than a week later Kid Tatius is assigned to 9 months of labor in the uterine gulag. Mind you, she was on the pill with my brother and had an IUD when I was conceived. TLDR. My dad has superhuman sperm and I was more than likely a new car porn baby. My grandfather adopted my mother when she was very young and never told her. When my grandfather died, my grandmother was already dead. We found the adoption papers. He had adopted her when he married my grandmother, who was 16 when she had her and married at 18. She always grew up thinking he was her real father, which he did raise her and still thinks of him as her father. But she never knew and never was told who her real father was or what happened. She has found out that she actually had a brother that was my grandfather's, which he gave up when he married my grandmother. TLDR. My mother was adopted and didn't know her real father. I just recently found out that my great-grandfather killed my great-grandmother by pushing her down the stairs. It's a huge family secret. My great-grandfather didn't have a heart attack. He died of syphilis. And my slightly odd uncle Mike isn't unmarried because he took a vow of celibacy for religious reasons. He is gay. My mom used to be a stripper. She also used to be homeless and was gang violated in the abandoned house she was staying in while several months pregnant with me. Her 2 older sisters, my aunts obviously, aren't my grandfather's daughters. They're the product 2 separate debaucheries. My youngest uncle used to be a crack addict. His wife has tried to kill herself 3 times. Now they're divorced. My second youngest uncle is severely schizophrenic. He beats his wife. My oldest uncle is a cop. My grandfather's sister is a lawyer alcoholic. That's pretty much everything. Also, I've never met my father. I don't even know what he looks like. My grandma passed away a few years back, and until her funeral I thought she was just an amazing woman who was very strong for raising 2 boys on her own. Little did I know, she was a raging alcoholic who neglected my dad and my uncle as they were growing up after my grandfather left them. Very sad, and I'm surprised to this day that it took me so long to find out about their sad past. I'm a year older than everyone in my year. Not too big a deal. Happens. People get held back. Different birthday cutoff in separate states. Yada yada. When I was very young, I went to a special preschool for children with behavioral problems. I had always thought it was because I'd had problems. Nope. My mom and aunt get drunk at a family gathering about a year ago and spill the beans. I was never a problematic child, besides your average terrible twos. My family had just moved and misinterpreted the due date of the paperwork to enroll me in school, and it was too late to put 2-year-old me in normal preschool. However, if they put me in a special needs class for a year, I could enroll in normal preschool the following year. TLDR. I have lived 19 years thinking I had a learning behavioral disability. Turns out my parents are just retarded. When I was 16 my mother was getting sick. I came home from class and found her in the restroom shaving her head. I asked her what was going on and she sat me down and began to tell me that she had cancer and she was starting chemotherapy and she just wanted to go ahead and shave her head. I was supportive of her. She started treatments but would never let me go with her to the doctor. She would only go with her friend. I confronted her with this and she said that she wanted to spare me the pain. As time went on I got suspicious and asked her what kind of cancer she had. She said she had lymphoma cancer. I started doing research and discovered that there was no way she could have it and still be able to work like she was in addition to her chemotherapy sessions. I called her work and asked if she had been missing work and her boss said that she told them all she had cancer in her stomach far from her neck and they have been giving her time off to go to the doctor. I called her doctor and he said he had no clue about this. I called the insurance company and they wouldn't tell me much but they didn't see any claims in the last 6 months. I confronted her with this and she miraculously got better a few weeks later. What really bothered me the most is that she had a catheter in her stomach for the chemo. As she told me when I first saw it, I found it in a box near the trash. It was made from a toothbrush cut in half and had a plastic hose taped to it. We haven't been close since I was 17. I am 34 now. I have trust issues as you can imagine but I have been married for 12 years with 2 kids. Last time I spoke with her she has cancer in her lungs from heavy smoking and tries to tell me a new lie every time. About a year ago my mother and I had a few drinks. She for some reason told me that my father really liked doing C back in the day. Prior to my birth mind you. This startled me because he's such a well-mannered, no drugs, no drinking kind of guy. What startled me more is the fact that I like C a lot too. And apparently I'm a lot more like him than I thought. I'd also like to state that I'm not a cokehead. I have a steady job and mountains of bills and my busy life has no time for such a drug. Every once in a blue moon the moment presents itself and I enjoy the frick out of it cause that's what life's about folks. TLDR. My dad was a cokehead back in the day. This may surprise you, but quite a few upper middle class men actually do see. When I was 18, and my brother was 15, he got his 14-year-old girlfriend pregnant. My parents paid for her to have an abortion. It's been a secret, as now I'm 38 and he's 35. Forever. I'm still not supposed to know about it. Really, I've never, once, heard him speak of it. I only found out because I inadvertently came across the paperwork back then. Yikes. Worse. He's been married for 12 years now to an ultra-Catholic woman. She thinks he was a virgin when they got married. If she ever finds out about the abortion thing, she'd freak out. Lying about the virgin status is silly. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.